All right, quick recap for all the potentially new people who are here. So basically what I'm doing is literally the hardest gaming challenge that has ever been conceived of. At least I've not seen anything harder than what I'm doing, because what I decided to do was I decided to take RLcraft and then combine it with needing physical strength. And RLcraft is already hard on its own. And just adding a bunch of weight to your body while playing in VR makes it like a billion times worse. And basically, I've made negative progress throughout this whole challenge, because this happens to be my third RLcraft Dregora video. And as you can see, I have nothing. And when I say that I have nothing, I mean that I literally have nothing. And if you're wondering how I've basically made zero progress in this game, even though I've created 2 whole other videos, well then, I highly recommend for you to check out my last video, because I'm about to spoil what happened in the end of that video. But to put it simply, what happened was that everything that I had worked for, I put in this chest. And to make a long story short, it exploded. He got my bed. He got my bed! This genuinely sucks so much. Everything is gone. But despite this, not all things were bad, because I didn't have to walk so far before finding a village. And the great thing about this village was that it was pretty close to where I died, so I could just easily use this waypoint to get back to the area where my exploded chest was. But then when I actually got to where some of my stuff was, there was literally a creeper just there waiting for me. And this creeper wasn't even that big of a deal, because it turned out that he was a pretty chill guy. The only thing that was not chill in this situation was the water. What? Got kinetic energied. Is that my stuff outside the wall? Bro. Okay, I literally just cannot touch water. Just look at this. I simply just stick one toe in the water and I'm dead. Like, what is going on here? But eventually, the water just decided to stop killing me. And so I took this opportunity to grab whatever I could from what was left of my stuff, which means I pretty much got nothing, because if you see what's in this chest, that's literally it. This is all what I could salvage from this situation. But yeah, at this point, really, the only thing I could do is try to work my way back to where I was. So I decided that getting ender pearls was the first thing that I should do to try to recover any of the progress that I'd lost. And the reason why I'm prioritizing getting ender pearls is because I need a soul stone so I can make sure that the lycanite mob that I tame in the future will be able to respawn, because I desperately need something to assist me when I'm defending myself. Especially since water is apparently also my enemy in this game. But yeah, the way that I was going to acquire these ender pearls was that first I decided to go down this ravine, because I figured that there would be a lot more mobs who drop ender pearls that spawn deep inside caves. And I was correct. I did not have a hard time finding these mobs. However, they absolutely destroyed me, and I realized that, yeah, this is not gonna work. I need to come up with a different plan. And this other plan was just to go find another tower to try to infiltrate and to try to see if there was any ender pearls that I could loot. And that is what I decided to do. I went to this tower, started torching it up, removed all the spawners, harvested all the EXP that I could get from that. And while I was trying to get away from all the mobs trying to kill me, I checked the chests and found 0 ender pearls, which was unfortunate, but this was not that big of a deal at all, since if you look at where this tower is located, it's inside an underground ravine. And I noticed after a couple times of going down this tower, there would consistently be a grue that always spawned inside the ravine, which was kind of annoying because stuff like this would happen. Oh my god, it's so old. That is absurd. That is genuinely. Okay, that is actually turbo retardation. Literally blew up all my stuff. But having to deal with stuff like this wasn't actually that bad, simply because I can use these grooves as a good source of ender pearls. All what I have to do is lure some grue up to the top of the tower and just beat him to death. And this worked almost perfectly. The only problem that I encountered was that beating him to death was extremely fatiguing. And so when I was walking back to the closest village to store my newly acquired ender pearl at, I decided that, you know what? I could probably do the same thing that I did to this grue, but to a specter instead, because they're not hard to find in this chasm that's just right next to this village. And if I can kill one, they can potentially drop up to like 3 ender pearls, which honestly is all what I needed. And so what I did next was I hopped down into the chasm with a pickaxe and started making a tunnel all the way back up to the village so that I had a way out of this chasm once I got what I needed. I ended up unintentionally mining into a cave after a little bit of mining, which was kind of a hassle, but it was something that I could honestly deal with. However, there was going to be something that was about to happen, which was going to be quite literally impossible to deal with. Oh my god. Well, my Oculus just shut off, so I guess I'm forced to quit. Hold on. Hold up. Whoa, 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 whoa. I do not like how it's playing for me. Oh, I'm out. So yeah, even though that situation was literally impossible to deal with, it wasn't actually a problem because this game literally decided to finish my tunnel even though my Oculus was literally dead. So now all what I gotta do is go back down into the chasm and try to kill a specter. And that did not go over well. I had a hard time finding any specters and I would just get killed over and over again. So I decided, you know what? The old idea was better. And so I went back to the tower to kill another grue. But then when I actually got to the tower, inside the ravine waiting for me was a blight grue. I already thought that fighting a normal grue was way too exhausting. Well, this blight grue obviously was way worse, and obviously far more exhausting to deal with. I literally needed to come up with a new strategy on how to fight him. And this new strategy was literally just pausing the game, then moving my fist into position just to make sure I could actually get a hit in on him. Eventually, I was able to kill him. And since he was a blight, I did get a decent amount of EXP from him, but I did not get any ender pearls. And after dealing with that exhausting fight, I just decided that, you know what? I'm just going to try to kill a specter. So it was back to the chasm, and this time I actually did find a specter. But it was just way too difficult to kill him inside the chasm. So I decided that I would try to lure him out onto the surface. And I eventually was able to get him out of the chasm, but it honestly took way too long. And it was not worth it, because after I was finally able to kill him, he, of course, dropped 0 ender pearls. And what made it worse is that a blight skeleton just decided to spawn right next to my waypoint and start spawn killing me. So I had to also beat to death this random blight skeleton. So yeah, at this point, I officially made up my mind that I'm just going to go to that tower and kill enough grues until I have all the ender pearls that I need, which was a far better idea because this method of killing grues actually worked. And eventually, I was able to kill enough grues to get the ender pearls that I needed. And it honestly wasn't that bad because I didn't even need to kill the last grue that I fought because this wisp literally did it for me by throwing this ball at him. And he, of course, dropped an ender pearl, and finally I was done with my search for these ender pearls. Like, oh my god, this was so tiresome. But throughout this whole ordeal, one of my greatest subscribers was wondering why I'm just not using a boat to trap these grues. And in response, I would just be like, you know, I don't think it works like that, man. I think grooves are just way too powerful. But I decided to open up creative to actually test if you could actually trap grooves in boats. And yeah, as you can see, it turns out that I might be kinda retarded because the grue is indeed stuck in that boat. It's actually kind of brutal that I didn't even try to test this out before going through all this struggle. But anyways, now the only thing that I need to craft this soul stone are diamonds. I would have already had these diamonds, but yeah, you know, something kind of happened to the place where I stored all my diamonds. So yeah, it's time to get these diamonds, and I figured the best way to do that was to do another tower. And so I set off into the wilderness to find this tower. But after wandering around the wilderness for a while, it started becoming late, so I decided to go to sleep in this house. And honestly, that might have not been the best idea. Where's my sleeping bag? Did I not pick up my sleeping bag? I did not pick up the sleeping bag. Wow. Okay, well, I guess I just wasted a sleeping bag. Oh my God. Well, yeah, I can't believe that happened. I cannot believe I fell for such an obvious trap. Literally, the floor was sand. I could literally see that it was a trap, but I fell for it anyways. I quite literally fell into this trap. But eventually, though, I did find the tower that I was looking for. And it wasn't really that interesting. It was just the usual tower shenanigans that I had to deal with. Okay, he's literally right in front of me. What is up with you? What the? Yeah. Dealing with this tower was kind of difficult, but not really. I knew the process. And after I destroyed all the spawners and looted the chests, I had the diamonds that I needed. And so I got all these resources together, and finally, I now have a soul stone. There's only one thing left I need to do, and that is to craft avian treats, because the Lycanite mob that I want to tame to assist me in combat is the Venoraptor. And fortunately, I have the resources to do so because the fishes you need to craft avian treats were conveniently one of the only things that I was able to salvage from when all my stuff exploded. And so all what I needed to do was go back to where that happened and pick up those fishes. But when I was doing that, I found out that looking for diamonds in that tower was a complete waste of time. Because as you can see in this random chest that I decided to open, there is diamond wolf armor in there. And if I just went to pick up this fish earlier, I would have found this armor and I would have smelted it for the diamonds that I would need for the soul stone. But at the end of the day, this really doesn't matter. What matters is taming that Venoraptor. So I cooked up my fish, crafted the avian treats, then waited till nighttime so that one could spawn. This should have been a simple task, but you know, I have to deal with this garbage. Oh my God. After having to deal with quite a few inconveniences like that, I was able to find exactly what I was looking for. The Venoraptor that I found wasn't just any ordinary Venoraptor, it was a variant. So it was just faster and better than a normal one. But unfortunately, I got distracted somehow, and then he ran off and despawned. And I did not want a situation like this to happen again. So in order to avoid that, I went to my other village and just placed a door and some blocks around the entrance to where my waypoint was to make sure that I could be entirely safe while at the same time be able to tame a Venoraptor. So now I was back to searching for another one of these birds, but unfortunately, I literally could not find any variants. Literally the only thing that I found was this free blight kill. I mean, like, that was nice, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And so eventually I just decided that it was not worth to continue looking for a variant, and I just decided to tame this normal one. Because after I tamed him, basically the hardest task to complete in this challenge was finally completed. Simply because Now this game is just so much easier. I mean, like, it's still going to be super hard, but if you look at what's going on right here, my bird is literally wiping the floor with all these mobs. And if I try to fight any of these mobs one-on-one, then there would be a high probability that I would just end up dead. Defending yourself is just so difficult when you play this game the way that I do. But now I think the best thing for me to do is to go back down into that chasm to kill some trolls. Because I wanted some troll tusks so I could craft a saddle for my new acquaintance. And I figured that this would not be that difficult of a task, but things did not really go down the way that I anticipated they would. Hey, yo, please, fight him. Alright. Okay, hopefully he can beat him in a fight. It's not looking like he can win. He cannot win. Hey, yo, I didn't mean any harm. Okay, oh, he's still after me. I feel like I'm definitely dead. Oh my god. So yeah, that didn't really go that well. But that one cave that I accidentally mined into, turns out that trolls actually can spawn in there. And things went down a little bit differently when I tried fighting a troll in that cave. Alright, oh my god, okay, he hit me in the head. Alright, nice. Now we wait. I'm gonna take a seat. Oh no, he's aggroed on my dude. Please don't kill him. Oh, nice. Alright, troll leather. Nice. And the hammer. That looks completely whack in VR. Eventually, after killing a bunch more trolls, I finally found a couple of troll tusks. And with that, I was finally able to craft a saddle for my Venoraptor. So yeah, we have finally made some actual progress in this game. And we also have some troll tusks left, which means that I can create multiple saddles. And not only can I create a saddle for my current acquaintance, but now I can tame something like a rock and be able to fly with this saddle. But I'm definitely going to have to save that for a future video. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested. I also stream, so if you're interested in spoiling what's going to happen in the next few videos, feel free to tune in. All I have to say is that I hate doing this. I hate this game. Oh my god, this challenge sucks so much, but we are making progress. So, until next time.